I learned about this from Lee Milter, who taught a class on uh it was called auto suggesting back then, right? Which is I call it the spouse fulfilling prophecy now. But anyway, in her class, she had this woman who realized she'd been repeating things to her husband that she that didn't really serve her. She'd been saying to her husband, "You have a terrible temper. You always lose your temper." So this woman left Lee Milter's class, and she decided she was going to change her spouse fulfilling prophecy. She started saying, "It's not like you to lose your temper." And so she waited. She went home. She waited for him to lose his temper, and then she said, "Oh, it's not like you to lose your temper." She didn't have to wait very long for it, even. And then he looked at her kind of weird, like, "What? What is happening here?" And their 12-year-old son said, "Yes, it is, Mom. He always loses his temper," because he'd been hearing that all this time. So, but she thought, "I've got nothing to lose. This is like it's not fun for me when he loses his temper, so I'm just going to stick with this." And so she kept saying it to him. And then they went out to dinner one time, not long after that, and the service was really slow. And he started to like blow his top. He was like, "I have a good mind to call the manager over here and let him know how long we've been waiting because this is ridiculous." And then he stopped himself and he looked at her and he goes, "It's not like me to lose my temper, is it?" And she just nearly fell out of her chair onto the floor. And so I heard this story and I thought, I'm gonna use this. And what I had been affirming to my husband unwittingly was that he didn't make enough money. And I think you can make more. And of course, what he heard was, "You don't make enough money." And that was, sadly, that was exactly what I was conveying to him. And so, and I am such a powerful manifester. He stopped making any money. And I was furious. I was seething with resentment that I was doing everything. I was doing all that cooking and the housework and just managing the bills. And I was making all the money and like, oh, what do I even need him for? And so when I heard Lee's Milter's story, I thought, I'm going to change this up. I'm going to say, "You've always been a good provider." And just for fun, I'm going to start calling him Mr. Moneybags too. So that was my new spouse fulfilling prophecy to replace the old unwitting one. And around that time, my husband decided to start his own business, and he'd never had his own company before. And it was a video business, and my husband, that was in his wheelhouse. He's always been a video guy, and it was very successful. He was more successful than he'd ever been at his jobs. And then he would get his like big checks in the mail, and I would say, "Oh, look at Mr. Moneybags with his, get his big checks in the mail." And so I don't know, maybe it was coincidence, but I don't think so. What I focused on increased, and this is what we see again and again.